Hi everyone, welcome to today's 3-day live event. I'm so excited to be doing this today. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you don't know me, which you should by now, I'm Kelly from spiritualawakeningsigns.com, and I help people like you who are currently going through the spiritual awakening process to reduce your symptoms and make the journey much easier. My main message to you is that spiritual awakening doesn't have to be hard. There are so many things we can do to make that journey easier for you, and I'm absolutely honoured to be able to share some of this material with you because I know firsthand how hard it can be. So thanks so much for joining us today. So basically, if your awakening is currently overwhelming, out of control, full of anxiety, full of emotional turmoil and heightened sensitivity, this is the event for you. This is specifically why I've created this 3-day live event, and that's the things that we're going to be tackling over the next 3 days together. So I am really glad to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. I aim to make the material that I share over the next 3 days really simple, structured, step-by-step, down-to-earth things that you can do that are really going to make a difference in your awakening and make the journey much easier. We definitely want that for everyone that's going through it. In today's class, we're going to cover basically all about spiritual awakening and how it affects us energetically and physically, because there are two sides to that tale. And I really want to make sure that you have a good understanding of how that process actually occurs in your system, because when you can understand what's really going on and those changes that are being made, it takes a lot of anxiety and worry out of the situation, and you can recognise that a lot of the challenges that you're currently facing are normal parts of the journey. They are absolutely normal. And I know for me that was one of my biggest worries. When I looked at lists of signs and symptoms, I would be concerned that something that I was experiencing wasn't on the list. It's all normal. And if any of them are really difficult, we can make changes to make that easier, and that's what we're going to be doing in the next 3 days. So this is really going to be the foundation for the 3 days, and to help you to understand why our symptoms get so bad, why they become so difficult. And we'll also be taking our first actionable step in making a change in that, and that's going to be over the next 3 days. You can absolutely make changes to your symptoms over the next 3 days if you follow the guidance and you do the homework. It's easy. It's really, really easy. So I'm just going to say, if anyone wants to say hello, feel free to do so, because I can see it in the comments. It doesn't always work out great with tech, but yeah, feel free to say hi. So hi to Trish from Canada. There's always loads of Canadians on here. That's fab. Feel free to say hi, and I'm going to give a brief account kind of my awakening experience and what was going on for me, so that you get an understanding of probably how you'll relate and how we're very similar. Hi Marta, I've seen you in the group. Thanks for joining us. Thanks so much for coming. Okay, so for me, awakening actually really began when I had a bit of a trauma. So my family's business, which had been running my whole life, is the only place I'd ever worked. My family's business went kaput, went completely out of business, and 3 members of my family, my mum and dad, were all out of a job, and it was a really scary time. And it was interesting because it was something that I had not really wanted to do my whole life. You know, I didn't want to be a hairdresser. It wasn't in alignment with me, and I felt really trapped. And that's usually where your issues start to kind of come to the surface like a little volcano. And they popped. They definitely popped. And after the family's business was shut down, it just opened up so many doors for me, and I could feel that there was a change happening in my energy. And I think that's the thing that you guys will relate to as well. You know that something's different. You don't always know what's different, but you can feel that things are never going to be the same again. And I definitely knew that. And I began to become very, very sensitive, very emotionally sensitive, very empathic. I was picking up everyone else's stuff, and it became really difficult to be around other people because I felt that I was consuming their issues, and it was making life a lot harder for me. And I was starting to feel that my compassion was a bit of a curse, because I felt that I was so sensitive that it was making social interaction very, very difficult. When it came to things like full moons or astrological events, I found that I was really tearful, overwhelmed, overcharged, exhausted. It was an awful time. I was feeling really terrible. And it's a tough thing with awakening because there's usually two polar opposites to it. So one side of it was that I was feeling completely spiritually awakened, really aligned. I was having visions and connecting with guides and just seeing this whole new world of amazing spiritual aspects that I didn't know before and that I wasn't able to sense before. So it was really incredible and really touching to be connected to this new world. But in the same respect, I felt that my life was crumbling round about me. And emotionally, there seemed to be no backbone to me anymore. I felt like everything made me crumble. Everything broke me down. Everything took me so long to get over. You know, the slightest little thing could be so emotional for me and I'd be crying for a long time. And I spent a lot of my awakening really questioning what is wrong with me? You know, really what is wrong with me? And being concerned for my mental health and my physical health because, you know, at one point my body was breaking down too. Fatigue, aches and pains, you know, just challenges sleeping. It can really kick us when we're down. Spiritual awakening can be really very difficult. But I'm through the other end of that now and I've learned so much coming through that journey. And I know that coming through that journey and the challenges that I went through are exactly the things that I needed to do to be able to share this, these techniques and this wisdom with you. And it'll happen for you too. The challenges that you come through awakening become the foundations for this new life where you're aligned with your purpose. They basically hand your purpose to you and it's incredibly powerful. So I'm really excited to help you guys align with that path a bit more and find that it's a beautiful transformation. It doesn't have to be out of control and crazy and upsetting. And there's lots of support here for you. So before we go ahead, I just want to say a quick hello to anyone that I missed from before because there's a few people here. So John from Maine, USA. Hi John. Hi Rashawn. Thanks so much for coming. And Tadas, you've been on a few of the videos, Tadas. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate everyone coming. Thank you. Okay, let's get into the important stuff today. So now I'm going to explain how the process of awakening occurs. So what's actually happening to our physical bodies and our energy too, so that you've got a good understanding. So the first thing that happens is that at a predetermined time, so this is a time that you chose before you came down here, a large influx of light comes into the system. So this is when we're talking about that high vibrational divine energy. People have a lot of different names for it. It's basically just white light. And that white light comes down into your system and it's a very high vibrational energy. We're not used to this. And it can be very ungrounding just to have that high vibrational energy in our systems because the average person doesn't have that much light in their system. It's not an average level, certainly not for being down here on the physical level. And energy is thrust up through our chakra system. So you know that we have chakras right throughout the body and the heart, the throat, the third eye, crown. They move right up through the spine. And the energy is kind of thrust right up really powerfully through those centres, okay? And that's when your emotions become really heightened and they become extremely sensitive. So you might find that you are crying more often, that your emotions change wildly and erratically, which can be quite unnerving. You might find you have no control over when or how intensely these emotions come up, and you're really feeling emotionally triggered by other people, by things you experience in your daily life. It just has a jarring feeling to it and you can't get rid of it. This is all normal, okay? This heightened sensitivity helps you to feel everything. It's so important for you to be able to feel everything. However, it's not important for you to be out of control in that empathy, and that's what we're going to be working on. We'll be reducing that back to normal levels over the next few days. So don't worry if you find that it's out of control. Something can be changed and it's going to be okay. So the next thing that happens is that your psychic senses become really, really open, more open than they've probably ever been in your entire life, and usually really abruptly. And that's the challenge, because we go from either having no intuition or a certain level of intuition to boom, we are blasted open and we are seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing things that we weren't aware of before, and they can be confusing as well when you start to pick up on those feelings and vibes from people, places, things. It can be really confusing at first to know what that really is and what it means. It can be quite unnerving. You might even begin having powerful spiritual experiences, some of which won't make sense, okay? And that happened for me. And a lot of people come onto the videos or ask in the Facebook group, you know, can you interpret this dream for me? I had this experience, what does it mean? And I want you to know that I know the desperation. I know what that feels like, to just be so desperate to be like, oh, what's the answer? What does that mean? I know it's important, but I don't know what it is. And this is where I mean that, you know, these things are given to us and they're like jigsaw puzzles. So the universe will hand things to you and give you experiences that you kind of have to work out for yourself. And they're like little time releases. So you might have something happen to you that you're not supposed to understand for another 3 months or another year. It's not the right time. But by the time that you do understand it, there's new meaning to the experience that you had. And it also proves that spirit and the universe have been behind you the whole time. So if there are things that you don't understand and they seem a bit odd, you don't have to doubt them. You just need to know that it's maybe not for the highest and best for you to understand it just yet, but that time will come, okay? And with it, so will a lot of wisdom. It's really powerful. Okay, the next thing that happens is you begin to feel more sensitive and extremely empathic. So we're not talking about just having that normal level of compassion where you see someone suffering and you feel sorry for them, or you feel upset for them. It's about really feeling that you are picking up other people's stuff, feeling that someone has an ache or a pain, and all of a sudden you can feel that ache or a pain within your own physical body, or witnessing someone in a lot of emotional turmoil or distress and being so deeply moved by it that it's actually unbearable to be around them. And that creates a whole other conflict for us, because we're natural born healers, helpers, supporters, light workers. We want to do everything we can to ease the suffering in the world. And when our empathy is at that level that it's so powerful, it can be really hard to be there for other people. You really need to be there for yourself to, you know, they talk about filling up your own cup before you fill up someone else's. And that's really key here. It's, your empathy is going to be really, really heightened for a certain time. And there are purposes to all this, I promise, okay? So the purpose of all this is it's to make sure, to absolutely ensure that your soul gets completely healed and completely cleared. That is the purpose of awakening. It's about trying to get you back to that clear divinity, okay? Because you're not your issues. Your issues are just things that sit right over the top of that gorgeous diamond that you are, and all that dirt on the top that stops us from seeing that you know, gem glittering. You're not your issues. So the more we can clear those issues and remove them, remove all those beliefs of, you know, that life is hard, life is a struggle, that you have to suffer to grow spiritually. These are all the things that we're leaving behind. And that's precisely why they're probably showing up in your life right now, is because you've got to experience them to release them. And don't worry, we can clear a lot of that as we go as well. But that's the main purpose. Your emotions are heightened, your psychic senses are opened, your energies are intensified, and it's all for the purpose of healing and clearing you, to make you that clear channel for divine energy. So that high vibrational energy we're talking about, we need to make you as clear as you possibly can be, so that it can come through you in whatever channel is divinely meant for you. You might be a writer, you might be a healer, you might be a really important person in the community, you might just have a positive vibe that's meant to connect with others and awaken them in some way. You might be meant to speak. Everyone has something that they're here to bring. Everyone has something that is their greatest joy, that is their biggest fulfillment, and that is their greatest yield in every aspect of life. And this is the process of getting you to that, aligning you with the truth of who you really are, without all the rubbish on the top that isn't really true. And that's what we're doing. And let's see what else we can get. Okay, so you know, I've talked through all these different things that happens. What we really need to do is go right back to the beginning of that list And that list began with that high vibrational influx of white light energy. That was the thing that started it all. That was the thing that heightened our emotions, opened our psychic senses, and made those changes to our energy so that we are deeply empathic. Okay, it was the high vibrational energy that kicked that process off. But there's a problem with that. And the problem is that it's really only necessary to kickstart the process. It's really only necessary to open your emotions, to, heighten your empathy, to open your psychic senses once. That's all we need. We just need them opened initially, and then the ball's rolling. But the problem that we have is that if we don't do something to ground that new high vibrational energy that's coming in, it's going to continue to do what it did in the first place. So this is how people get to a state where they say, my emotions are so sensitive that I can't function in normal daily life. My empathy is so out of control that I pick up everybody else's aches, pains. I feel the suffering of the world. It's too much. It's too much. People also say to me, I'm getting bombarded by spirit, negative energy, intrusive experiences. That shouldn't be happening. That's because you're too open. And these things are all born from the fact that we are initially opened with that high vibrational light, and we need to ground that energy to the earth because we're not truly ready for it yet. We need to just hold it in place until we can get a handle on this thing. And when we do that, that's what's going to reduce our symptoms. Because the thing is, it starts to get out of control when that's just left to its own devices. So when that energy is continually charging you, I always go back to the analogy of the electrical charger in the socket, and plugged into the wall, charging, building up, becoming overheated, buzzing with so much energy. That's what happens to our bodies when we don't ground that energy. It starts to get out of control. We become too opened, too emotional, too empathic, and it really can make normal life unbearable. It becomes, it feels like a curse rather than a blessed experience. And our human bodies aren't designed to actually deal with that level or influx of energy. They can't really handle it, not just yet. They will, but they can't just yet in the beginning. So we don't want to stop the process. We don't want to shut off our abilities or that wonderful compassion that we have, but we do want to make it compatible with living a normal daily life. It has to be compatible, and we have to be able to still live a happy life while we're going through this transition and aligning with our purpose and our greatest joy. So we need to ground our energies. I hope that from the material that I've been sharing over the last few weeks, you guys really get that. You need to ground your energies if you want to change your symptoms in any way. If you don't ground your energies, those symptoms are going to continue to be really horrible and really difficult and really out of control. Okay, and I know because I tried everything. If you look at my blog, you'll read about it. I literally tried everything. I was at my wit's end, and I was frightened because there came a point where I couldn't understand why my symptoms were getting worse and worse and worse, and there seemed to be nothing I could do to change it. That's how I learned all these things. So there is something we can do, but grounding is the key. But there definitely is a challenge with grounding. And the truth that I've found is that it's really hard to get grounded during awakening, particularly because of that initial high vibrational white light energy. It makes it really difficult to ground our energies fully because we've really been blasted open. In fact, we might even find that grounding either doesn't work, doesn't last, or that it actually makes your symptoms worse. And that's what I found every time I tried to do something grounding. I found that my symptoms were intensified. I would be more emotional and more issues would come up for healing, and I would take on more people's stuff. It was very, very difficult and very exhausting. And the reason why is because we're already so intensely charged, we're already so sensitized by that white light energy that anything that affects our energy is going to really affect all our symptoms. Anything that affects our energy. So this is where you're going to have to be really cautious and just really take stock of everything that's around you. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So anything that affects your energy will charge you, will charge that energy. Like I said before, the electrical plug plugged into the wall is going to keep charging up. And that is a problem, because if we can't ground ourselves, our symptoms continue to get worse and more out of control and harder to handle. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But the truth is that there's nothing that I've actually found that can ground our highly charged energies particularly well. And like I say before, I know because I tried. I used absolutely everything. Anything that said grounding on it. You know, if it was oil, I was dousing myself in it. I was, putting it in my bed, in my bath. I had crystals on me all the time. I was constantly looking for, alternatives of things that would help to ground my energy, and nothing was working. And that says a lot, because I live in a really rural part of Scotland. It's right in the middle of the countryside. It's beautiful trees. There's a river at the bottom of the garden. You know, if anyone should be grounded, it should be me. But it was not working for me. So the best thing that I've found to ground your energies during awakening and reduce those symptoms down is actually abstinence from things that energetically affect our energies. So that can make a massive difference. A massive difference. In fact, it wasn't until I did that my awakening finally levelled out to something more even, and I didn't feel like life was crumbling. That was when everything turned the corner and I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it really changed. So grounding is definitely the key, and the best way to do that is to abstain from things that are going to charge us, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, this is when we are making a change. Today is a powerful day, people, because if you can take action on this and do something about it, your awakening symptoms really will change. I promise you that. I know, because I've been through it. I've been working on it with my clients. This is the only thing I know that's going to make a change, and you need to take responsibility and take that first step, and I am with you every step of the way. So, step 1, day 1, this is what we're doing. I want you to remove all energetic stimulants from your living space. And I'm going to expand on that. So we're talking physical items that are energetic stimulants. And by energetic stimulant, I mean anything that affects your energy. Anything at all. There's lots of things we know affect our energies, and I'm going to go through some of them. So collect up all of those items, all of them, okay, and put them into another room just for the next 3 days. That's all it is, just for 3 days. After 3 days, you can bring them back out, okay? So we're talking all your crystals, all your essential oils, all your incense, anything at all that is designed to work with or affect your energy in any way, all of it. And I really need you to be vigilant. I mean that. Don't make a mistake. Don't miss one tiny little crystal here or there. And I know it's hard. I know how hard this is, because if someone had said to me when I was in the midst of this journey, see all that fun stuff that you'll have spending time with, don't do it for a few days, I would have been gutted. But the truth is that it's, you need to be really vigilant if you want to really test this method and see if it works for you, which I can guarantee it will. I know it will, because I've seen it so many times. So once, the thing is, you're going to remove this from your space, but it's only until your energies are grounded. After your energies are grounded, you can slowly reintroduce them in little bits, okay? Still monitoring your symptoms, okay? Because there's a few people said, oh yeah, I did this, and then I just brought them all back in, and then I noticed my symptoms were funny again. You need to be gentle, okay? So it's not a matter of let's remove it for 3 days and just blast ourselves back open. It's, okay, I'll bring in the crystals today and I'll see how I feel. Let's see how I sleep. How are my emotions feeling? Okay, that's okay. A day or two later, okay, I'll bring back in the incense to the room and see how that feels. Always monitoring your symptoms, always being really, really gentle with yourself. So I want you to remember, it's only for a few days, okay? But like I said before, don't miss anything, right? Don't be fooled into thinking that you can miss a little crystal or an essential oil next to your bed or some organite in the bedroom, here and there. This is designed to give your energies a break. It's really designed to absolutely give your energies a break, to finally stop charging them for just a few days. And for a lot of us, this is the first time that we've been out of the presence of something like that, maybe our whole lives. Because as spiritual people, I don't know about you, but I always had crystals and oils and incense and, nice energetic things in the room and in my space because I found it comforting and I found it comfortable. But I had never had a break from it, so I didn't realise that it was part of the problem. And for the average person, it's not a problem. The average person can enjoy these things, no problem. But for us, because we've got that high sensitivity and all these challenges with our energy being so easily stimulated, we really need to take a proper, full break and allow our energies to just calm back down, ground to Mother Nature, ground to the earth. And it's the fastest thing that I've found to do. Nothing else works as well as this. So please give it a try. So let me check that we haven't missed anything. No, I think that's it. So just again, little kind of going over it again. So the homework is, it's only for a few days, but you're going to collect up all the items that affect your energies and put them into another room just for the next few days, okay? So it's one of the most grounding things that you can possibly do. It's more grounding than tea tree oil or walking in nature or walking barefoot by a mile, absolutely by a mile. Honour yourself by testing this out. And I always say that to people, don't take my word for it, test it. Try it for yourself and see the results for yourself so that you actually have a truth. You need to have the experience to have the truth. And if you're having any problems with it, you can contact me. I'm always here for you guys and I want you to get the results with this. But if you only remove a few things from your space and you're sitting in a living room with big gigantic crystals, or you know, you've doused things in essential oils, or you're burning incense halfway through the day, it's not going to work. So you need to commit and you need to take responsibility for your awakening and be willing to make a change. And we can do that. Homework is set. Okay, so I think that's it for right now. That's everything that I wanted to cover today. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments and I'll take a couple of minutes just to answer some questions. If there's anything you're not sure, you know, is that something I should move from my space or where should I put it, let me know. But just to confirm, I don't want anyone to throw these things away. You know, these things are important to us, and particularly as spiritual people, they're meaningful. So keep them, but just put them somewhere like the garage or the attic or another room. Mainly I want you to keep your bedroom and the living room, the main living space that you spend your time in, completely clear. That's really, really important. So let's see what else, because not all of the comments always come up when I have a wee look. So let's see, Sue is saying, hi Kelly from England. Someone else, UK, hey Leanne, that's fab. Beatrice, hi Beatrice. And Tanya, let me see, I want to make sure I'm not missing any more comments. I don't think that I am. Okay, so if you have anything else, give you a little second just to fill me in at the bottom. Anything you want to ask, I'm more than happy to answer. But I think that's pretty self-explanatory. All energetic items, we're moving them just out of our space just for the time being. Let's see, Catherine. What about just closed bottles of essential oils? I would still move them, Catherine. Believe it or not, it depends how sensitive you are. Not everyone is as sensitive as I particularly was. But if it's for the purpose of testing it just for a few days, I would move them and just see how you feel. And then we can get a little idea afterwards. Trish. Okay, Trish says, I feel like I'm living in fear all the time. How can I reduce this? I'm also always tired. How can I reduce this as well? Well, the good news is, Trish, that if you focus on grounding, those symptoms in particular will adjust. Now, tiredness usually comes from being majorly ungrounded. So when we get into a space where we're leaving the body too often, or we're very, very ungrounded and disconnected from the body, we usually start to get things like aches and pains and fatigue, and fear and panic can come up too, because our body recognises that we're not really in our physical body, and it's like, I'm afraid we're not going to survive. There's a little vibe going on by the energy. So what I would say is follow the 3 parts that we're doing today, but if you haven't already got the 5-day course, which I'll always mention at the end, I would say that would be good for you, because it sounds like you're really, really ungrounded, and I can actually feel that you're really overly charged. I don't know if you get a lot of stomach problems, but there's a lot of energy in the stomach, so look at removing things from your space and see how you feel. And then over the next few months as well, Trish, I'll be covering some, I'll be having a focus on emotions, releasing fear, releasing panic, things like that, which should really help too, so we'll be covering that soon. Let's see, Judy, what can we do for these hot flashes? It depends. If you're finding that it's a result of awakening, which it can be. I know I got a lot of like energy waves that used to come over me and kind of make me sweat, and they were really peculiar feeling. Again, like Trish before, major sign that you're very ungrounded from your physical body. So I would encourage you to look at doing what we're doing in the 3-day course, but making sure that you are not stimulating yourself in any way. You need a clean break for a few days, maybe even a week, just to make sure that they really touch back down, and you should find that that really improves. Catherine's got the extreme fatigue too. It's really common. It is really, really common, and I went through it also. I went through fatigue, I had pain, I had spinal issues. It's common, cracking, crunching all along the spine and the neck. And my eating was all out of alignment. Sometimes I couldn't eat, and other times I was ravenous. I ate a lot of peanut butter. That's still going on. That's still an addiction of mine. But we get some really strange symptoms. Major sign that you're ungrounded. Get the focus back into the body, because that's what the body's trying to do for you. It's like if I make it really uncomfortable in the house, you know, you'll focus on your physical body and you'll come back. So it's really just inbuilt to make sure that you're okay. Right, Hayley. I keep waking up at 3 AM to 5 AM for months. Any tips? Fear with dreams and exhausted. That's common too. I find personally, it's actually really in keeping with the theme. I find personally that if I engage in things that are too charging for me, then sleep is just not going to happen. You know, if I do a lot of too much energy work, or I'm in amongst crystals, oils, all these things that charges, sleep can be really hard, because what you're essentially doing is saying to the universe and to your soul, I'm open and ready for business, and then you're lying down and going to sleep. So you maybe want to just make sure you're creating a distinction there. I'm also just tuning into your space. Have a look around your room. I don't know if you've got things next to the bed, or I'm just wondering what that is. Have you got like fool's gold or something? I feel like there's something that looks kind of gold that would be affecting your energy in there. Have a look and see if there's something there, but definitely look at grounding as the main thing. And the fear with the dreams is probably some past life stuff coming up, which will reduce with grounding. But like I say, in a few months we'll be covering all the emotional stuff, which should really help. Let's see, Beatrice. I don't use anything or crystals, I just pray for everyone. I'm seeing beautiful waves of colours 24/7. That can be a beautiful experience, and also sometimes it comes up at inappropriate times. So tomorrow, this might be useful to you, Beatrice. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about, today was the physical items that we're removing. Tomorrow is going to be some of the practices and things that we do that continue to charge our energies as well, that we don't realise. And we'll be making some changes with that. So I think you might find tomorrow's class particularly helpful. Sue's telling us she feels so sad when she sees animal cruelty, as if she's suffering for them. What can I do? That's an indication that your empathy is too high. So like we were talking about, reducing all these symptoms down, grounding will help. It's interesting, sometimes we find we resonate more painfully with things that exist in our soul. So there's probably some issues in there somewhere about animal cruelty or protecting others, or maybe you've been through some similar experiences in past lives. But I would say focus on grounding as much as you possibly can, and that will reduce your empathy to a more normal level, and then we'll be dealing with emotions over the coming months for you. Catherine says she has the hot flashes too. That's quite common. Sweating, yep. Hayley says she hates meat. Yeah, I went through that as well actually. But it's interesting, now I'm kind of on the cusp. Sometimes I go through phases where I'm like, can't handle it, and other times I'm like, yeah, I could eat some meat. And if ever you're in a real panic, if ever your symptoms are really terrible and you don't know what else to do, eating will always really help. And actually, in a real fix, so will eating meat, believe it or not. Sometimes drastic times, drastic measures. Let's see. So I'm also seeing repeated no's over and over again. I work with the angels. What are they trying to tell me? Well, like I said before, Sue, these things are all personal. So this will be your little jigsaw piece that they want you to unravel. And there will be some really vital learning in there that will come. But there could also be some issues in there that need healed, and we'll get to that. So I'll just do the last few, and then that'll be us finished up, because I don't want to make it too long for everyone. Antimesia, is that the right way to say that? My mind gets bored easily. It's like I have short memory. I can't remember what was said because I'm trying to catch up to the conversation. It really bothers me. Okay. So what I can tell you from that is that we develop a lot of brain fog and our mind doesn't have a chance to catch up. This is a massive sign that you're ungrounded, okay? And it's not your fault. It happens to all of us on the awakening path. But usually what happens is that your mind's not really focused on the conscious present moment. You're not really in the now. And quite often your mind and your soul are off busy doing other things. And it makes it quite hard to focus on where you are and what you're doing. So focus on the grounding for now with this three-day course. That will really, really help. But the more that you can focus on grounding and give yourself a break from some of the spiritual stuff, that's what gives your brain a chance to catch up, and you develop so much more clarity as time goes on because you're giving your energies a break to catch up, to rationalise the experience, to make sense of everything that's going on, and then you'll find that you'll be more alert, definitely. So focus on that. Marta, removed my sleeping crystals from under my pillow, wondering about sleeping for the next few days. That's interesting. I'll be interested to hear how you got on, Marta. So if you're available in the next couple of classes, please do let us know. But it can take a few days for those energies to really drop down. So yeah, make sure they're out your space. Hayley, I found a gold perfume bottle bedside. I knew it was something next to the bed. Well done. Doesn't necessarily affect us all, but there's something about that stone that was charging you. So good to get that energy away from you. Let's see, anything else? Antimesia, how do I do the 3-day course? The 3-day course will be here, okay? So every day, today's day 1, and your homework is remove all of those items, those spiritual items, things that change your energetics in any way, move them out of your space, somewhere else. This is day 1, and this is step 1. We'll be having a class tomorrow at the same time, and then on Friday at the same time. And all of this is focused towards reducing your symptoms, okay? I'll also talk about the 5-day course because that's slightly different. So the 5-day course is what's available on our website, and it's all the guidance and information you could possibly need when you're moving through awakening to reduce your symptoms, to make the journey a bit easier, all the do's and don'ts that are going to affect you. I would have a look at that as well because I wish everyone could have this as the get-go. It's such important information, and if someone had given it to me, it would have changed my awakening experience. So if anyone wants to get that, I'll pin a little comment before so you can find it. It's at www.spiritualawakeningsigns.com, and it's on every page because I don't want anyone to miss it, and it's really valuable. Okay, let me see. I'll just do one more. So I've got one here from Catherine. I feel I'm eating too much to try and stay grounded, and I've gained weight. That does happen, and this happened to me too. And sometimes, you see, food has a lot of physical density, so sometimes our body gets us to focus on eating and getting that density in our physical bodies to level out that high vibrational energy. It's actually trying to ground you through food, and weight can do that too. Weight has density, and it kind of holds us down on the physical level. So don't beat yourself up too much. It generally passes. I went through it too, and then it kind of passes, and you might find it even wavers a little bit. But you probably need more protein than usual when you're going through this process. So if you find you're craving particular foods, just allow yourself to have them. It's hard enough. I got to the point I was just eating a lot of Kit Kats and drinking a lot of tea because I was like, I've had it with this thing. I just need to take it easy and enjoy myself. So please don't beat yourself up at all. Don't worry, if anyone can't make the replays tomorrow or Friday, the live feed, there will be replays, and I always send them out via email, and on the Facebook you can get them later, so don't worry, you won't miss a thing. So that's us for today. Homework is set. I want everyone going away now. Do it now, take control, do what you can to make changes to these awakening symptoms, and let's do this together. I'm with you every step of the way. And I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And I really hope it continues to help. Thank you so much. See you later, guys. Bye.